Wellington Hospital, where they were reattached. Neighbors were surprised to learn about the woman running from the house.
Without 2 fingers?
Right.
Wow. Wow. That's unbelievable.
Mrs. Legratalia was arrested and charged with assault. Her husband and 2 daughters remained inside their Lake Ronkonkoma home today. The other woman came from the Platinum Club Escort Service of Long Island. Their website promises to make, quote, your next occasion extremely entertaining.
Any sex in exchange for money constitutes prostitution.
One visitor to the neighborhood summed up the feelings of most people.
Everybody decides to do their own thing, and it's not right.
Mrs. Legratalia is being held pending bail on assault charges which carry a 7-year prison term. In Suffolk County, Jim Gately, UPN 9 News.
And Halloween beef with McDonald's, and they made their feelings known with a protest. Members of People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals and the Animal Defense League protested outside of McDonald's in downtown Brooklyn. They say they want people to stop eating meat. Meanwhile, Nassau County Police are still investigating cases of vandalism at 4 of the fast food franchises. Windows were broken there and walls were spray painted with pro-animal messages.
To come tonight, Larry Costco. And still to come tonight, a phone call has students fearing for their lives.
Also, where's the beef? Animal rights activists say theirs is with McDonald's and they want to get a break today.
That bore the brunt of his wife's fury.
Some are calling her the Lorena Bobbitt of Suffolk County. Only what led to 43-year-old Awadni Legratalia's arrest this morning was not a vengeful attack on her husband, but on her husband's alleged hooker. It all began just after midnight when Mrs. Legratalia came home from work to find her husband in bed with another woman.
She went to an adjoining dining room and she withdrew a large samurai-type sword out and confronted the woman. The woman, in attempt to defend herself, grabbed the sword blade, at which time 2 of the fingertips of the woman's left hand became severed.
The woman, Dolores Andrews, bolted from the house stark naked. The driver from the Platinum Club Escort Service who dropped her off was outside waiting and took her to Huntington Hospital. Suffolk police rushed over here, too, with Andrews' severed fingertips. Fortunately, doctors were able to reattach them. The 32-year-old Andrews is already back home with her 3 children. Her landlord told us he was in the process of evicting her for failing to keep up with her rent. Ted Barber, who would not make any comments on camera, noted she had just lost her nurse's aide job and speculated she must have been trying to pick up some fast cash as a call girl to dig herself out of debt. Andrews told police taking care of Peter Legratalia was her first job with the escort service. He disappeared in all the chaos. Reaction in the quiet Lake Ronkonkoma neighborhood ranged from disgust.
I think it's really disgusting. You know, that the morality has really reached a very big low.
To utter disbelief.
Wow. I don't know what to say about that. They actually seemed like a really happy family. Nothing really was wrong. They just seemed like every other house in the neighborhood.
But police tell us the Legratalias, who have 2 young daughters and a dog, have a record of domestic trouble, incidents that date back to 1989.
I see them arguing every once in a while. Not really, not really crazy or anything, but I don't say much. They come in here, they do their thing, and then the other night I see stuff going on, I really don't know.
What kind of stuff?
I see cop cars out front, I see her coming out.
The scorned woman is facing second-degree assault charges for the attack on the other woman. In Hop Hog, Long Island, Ellen Marks, WB11, News at 10.
So he did the next best thing and faked her death. Detectives say Hone used his own mother's death certificate to carry out the plan. He changed the name of the deceased from Elizabeth to Marilyn, switched the age of death from 81 to 61, and finally the date of death from 1975 to 1995. Detectives say he then turned the bogus certificate over to City Financial, the company that approved the loan. But when Home's very much alive wife Marilyn received the paperwork in the mail, she contacted police.
She was shocked. She said that her husband knew she wouldn't agree to this, and she was upset that he had done something like that.
It's a scary thing, at this age, to think that something could be ripped out from under you and that he would sink this low to say that she was dead.
As for Hone's wife Marilyn, who still lives in the house police say he put up as collateral, well, we're told she's just hoping he doesn't default on the loan. Lauren DeFranco, ABC 7, Eyewitness News.
And when we come And is charged tonight with faking his own wife's death in order to get a loan. Police say 67-year-old Harold Hohen forged her death certificate. Investigators say Hohen did it because his wife would not agree to a mortgage on their house so he could pay the bills. They separated 5 years ago, but still co-own the house where the wife lives.
Also in the news,
not very upbeat.
I know they were disappointed about the loss, but I don't think any of them were more disappointed than I was. So, I mean, I don't know what they're fighting right now. I think when you're 1-5, you know, obviously things aren't good.
All I'm gonna do is keep my head up and just try to go through this area, all this adversity as best I can, you know, and just keep playing. That's all we can do. You know, you start second guessing and thinking that if you know it's a jinx or something like that, that's what got you. So, no, I'm not gonna get into that mode. I'm just gonna keep playing.
Lose again, and lost Lucas to boot.
I would say Rick Meyer probably would start Sunday, based on what I know right this moment.
Ray Lucas out 3 to 4 weeks now with that
dangerous scam. They arrested a man from Babylon for doing phony inspections on fire extinguishers. The Suffolk County DA says Martin Albert would stamp inspection numbers on fire extinguishers without checking them. He wasn't even certified to do inspections.
And as a result, we have put at risk many of the fire extinguishers throughout Suffolk County, not only in public buildings, but in the schools and private customers as well.
The DA says Mr. Albert may have done his phony inspections on about 100 customers.
Well, the mayor's going to have to make it.
Yeah, 9 News.
Tonight, concern for a local sports hero. A New York Jet hospitalized. He's on a respirator with a mysterious infection. And good evening, everyone. Tonight, the Jets say that they are manned.
Kevin Williams is in guarded condition tonight. The Jets' defensive back has been hit hard, harder than he ever has on the field. He's been struck by a mysterious illness, a throat and lung infection. And there's controversy to this story, charges that the Jets have abandoned Williams. Not so, says Coach Bill Parcells. Stephanie Shelton has the story of the team getting defensive over its defensive back.
He's, I'd say he's doing slightly better.
Tonight, Jets defensive back Kevin Williams remains in intensive care in Lenox Hill Hospital, remains on a respirator, although Jets coach Bill Parcells says the 24-year-old's condition has stabilized. Williams, number 23, has been in and out of the hospital since the sore throat he played with in Denver October 3rd turned into strep throat. The infection intensified and spread to his heart and lungs, necessitating 3 surgical procedures to clear fluid from his throat and lungs.
The doctor, in his wording with me, was cautiously optimistic.
Williams' mother is with him. Doctors treating Williams will not discuss his illness at the request of the family. Other physicians, speaking in very general terms, say strep throat can be serious, but is easily treated with antibiotics. Complications are rare.
Patients may have other medical conditions, and sometimes it may not be easy to identify them in a regular garden variety strep throat until you really start seeing patients who are getting worse.
And Anand says although athletes look fit and healthy, they may not always be. But there is more here than an athlete's unusually serious illness. There's also money. In newspaper articles, Williams' agent is charging that the Jets are treating his client poorly, keeping his teammates from seeing him, and putting Williams on a non-football related injury list so they won't have to pay him. But the Jets are known for taking care of their injured players, most notably Dennis Byrd, who was partially paralyzed in 1992. The team has paid all his medical bills, and Coach Parcells says he's also taking care of Williams.
In electing not to put him on non-football illness prior to the 6th game, I assured him a credited season, an accrued season, toward free agency, and much greater salary base for next year.
A credit season is at least 6 games. The Jets will also pay Williams about 2/3 of his $250,000 salary, although under NFL rules, they are only required to give him half. Stephanie Shelton, UPN 9 News.
Well, the Mets' amazing comeback came to
Long Island has been arrested. He's accused of violating Scouts' honor and the law by allegedly dealing in child pornography. Fox 5's Andrea Day is following this case. She joins us now from police headquarters in Mineola. Andrea.
Good morning, Mario. Well, detectives say the 41-year-old had been trading kiddie porn online for at least 7 years. They don't believe he was abusing anyone, just living out his fantasy. Nicholas Williamson said nothing as he was let out in cuffs. But detectives say they have a full confession, and when they searched his computer, found it loaded with kiddie porn. The 41-year-old allegedly traded the pre-scene sex shots online on his home computer in Valley Stream, where he lives with his wife and 3 young children. When we stopped by, we were clearly unwelcome. Neighbors stunned to hear about the accused sex dealer right next door.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know. He's such a nice guy. He has 3 kids, and he's doing that. It just blows my mind to think that someone with children would do something like that.
Cops say Williamson met other traders in chat rooms where he created links to his own site. All it took was a click and a password to access thousands of images of kiddie porn. The Cub Scout leader would then trade shots, all the time hiding behind his home computer.
He had many images, and he, by virtue of his F-serve on his computer, was able to trade online with other people. They could access his hard drive through this F-serve and glean whatever pictures they required for their gratification, and in turn trade with him and give him others to replace those that they took.
Now, Williamson wasn't making a profit on this, just trading pictures back and forth, and detectives
To get in touch with all the parents.
Well, if you take the Long Island
And
Railroad,
it's a miracle that nobody was killed in Westbury, Long Island. The police car you see right here was speeding toward another accident when an SUV crashed into it, or actually on top of it, really. One officer, the SUV driver, and the guy on a bicycle were all hurt, but nobody was hurt seriously. The SUV driver was arrested. His license has been suspended 7 times. John.
All right, Cynthia.
This video that we're about to show you, you could help solve a crime. An armed robbery was caught on camera. Police say that a masked man held up a Hess gas station in Miller Place in Suffolk County last month. And you can see him crouched down in front of the counter. See him there? The suspect wore a sports jersey with the number 06 on the front and the back. Police describe the suspect as 6 feet tall, in his early 20s, and they say that another suspect stood outside as a lookout. If you have any information, call Suffolk County Police.
Tonight, John News.
Thank you, Lauren. On Long Island, police are looking for 2 men involved in a robbery caught on tape. Surveillance cameras recorded the robbery at the Hess gas station on Route 25A in Miller Place, September 14th. Police say one man wearing a mask and a dark-colored jersey with the number 6 on the front and back robbed the station at gunpoint while a lookout waited outside.
Well, we know that tonight many of you are...
And another nasty accident, this one in Newcastle, ended with an SUV on top of a police car. Nassau County Police say the officer was responding to another accident when he collided with a taxi and the SUV. Several people were taken to the hospital. None of the injuries was serious. No word yet on who or what caused the crash.
Tonight, politicians didn't seriously injured a trained marine mammal rescuer. He was hit twice and had to be airlifted for treatment for a concussion. The young whale herself is in jeopardy.
We will most likely give her fluids. She's possibly dehydrated at this point, so we're still assessing what her medical condition is and take the necessary steps that we have to.
Experts from the New York State Marine Mammal and Sea Turtle Stranding Team say the 18-foot, 2,000-pound newborn apparently was rejected because of illness. The whale's being monitored now, but experts say the prognosis is not good.
Childhood asthma has risen to shut off the main. Well, 5 Long Island guys who were making quite a living in drugs and gun sales are behind bars tonight. The ATF caught them. Police say 3 of the men already had records. In fact, 1 was out on parole. The men sold undercover cops pistols, assault rifles, and cocaine. Police also think the men are responsible for robbing other drug dealers.
Well,
before they start going after people. Sean Keenan is a Long Island man with a whale of a tale to tell, literally. Authorities got a call this morning that a whale was trying to beach itself. So animal rescuers sprang into action, and after the whale refused to swim out to sea, well, they decided to take it into a whale tank for treatment. The whale was being put in the truck when the accident happened.
The animal, being very stressed out, not knowing what was going on, thrashed her tail, and her tail hit Sean in the chest and the head area. So he suffered serious effects that way.
Mr. Keenan was flown to Stony Brook Medical Center. He has several broken ribs, but he's expected to be okay. The outlook for the baby whale, on the other hand, is uncertain.
A 5-month investigation has led to a big weapons and drug bust on Long Island. 5 people are charged with selling firearms and cocaine. Police say 2 of the suspects are part of a group responsible for numerous armed robberies of drug dealers in Suffolk County. Investigators say they recovered guns and drugs worth more than $35,000.
Well, tonight, federal officials...
Hempstead woman is accused of welfare fraud. Police say 30-year-old Terry Pritchard got $52,000 in fraudulent benefits. She applied for welfare in December of 1994, claiming to be single, even though she had gotten married 2 months before. If she's convicted, Pritchard could face up to 15 years in prison. Watch out, your car...
Stephanie, a man is in the hospital tonight on Long Island after being hurt by a beached whale. Police airlifted Sean Keenan to Stony Brook University Hospital. He was trying to help save a baby whale stranded on West Hampton Beach, but he got too close to its tail, and the whale hit him in the head, giving him a concussion. The baby sperm whale is only 2 months old, but weighs almost a ton. Both Keenan and the whale are now in stable condition.
What do you think to pizza? And
Preservation sent out a rescue team to see if they could save the huge mammal, but one of the rescuers was slammed by the tail of this whale that weighs nearly 2,000 pounds.
I've been trying to get a stretcher underneath it. One of our volunteers was hit by the animal's tail flukes and hit in the ribs, so we sent him to the hospital to get checked out. He seems to be okay. And now we stabilized the animal, brought it back here, and put it into our tank.
Sean Keenan was airlifted from the scene to Stony Brook University Hospital. Keenan, who worked with the Riverhead Foundation over the last 4 years, reportedly has been admitted with a concussion and will be kept overnight. Saving the whales and other creatures of the sea may seem like a lot of fun, but it can be downright dangerous at times. This whale here, when it's fully grown, could weigh up to 50 tons. So the people here at the Riverhead Foundation recommend that if you ever see a whale thrashing about on the shoreline, don't go near it, call them.
It is dangerous when you go out into the water and interact with these animals. And they might look very gentle, but one wrong turn can definitely be a costly mistake.
The Riverhead Foundation Rescue Hotline is 516-369-9829. Meanwhile, marine biologists say the young female sperm whale was apparently separated from its mother and is still nursing. The whale is undergoing tests, and the problem now is that they have to find a way to feed it because she doesn't have any teeth yet. In Riverhead, Frank Uciardo for the WB11 News at 10.
Land for a different reason. After falling apart in the 4th quarter in Oakland, the Jets now 1-6 on the year and disappointed, to say the least.
I know they're very disappointed, you know, because they're just very disappointed and frustrated. I mean, it's a genuine frustration. I don't think it's one that, you know, they're just trying to exhibit. I mean, we all are. I am, the coaches are, I think the players are very frustrated.
Well, as we told...
Says he's fed up and disappointed after another loss yesterday in Oakland. Parcells is still trying to figure out what to do after the Jets allowed the Raiders to score 3 touchdowns in the final 16 minutes of the game to win.
I'm probably working harder now than I ever worked. And it's just sometimes you work and the players work pretty good for you, and you know, you seem to be ready to play the game. You don't start the game lethargically. You start with some energy, particularly defensively yesterday. And you, sometimes, no matter how hard you work, some things just don't come together for a while. But what happens to you is you realize you don't have any choice. You just have to keep plugging away.
And get them trained and put our game plan to reflect that and all those things, so we can go out.
All right. Meanwhile, the Jets continue to find ways to lose football games. This time it was the Raiders' turn, but it's not for lack of effort, says the tune.
Sometimes, no matter how hard you work, some things just don't come together for a while. But what happens to you is you realize you don't have any choice. You just have to keep plugging away.
Finally, this is only an
offense. The Jets just need anybody to step up right now. After Sunday's loss in Oakland, Coach Bill Parcells said that he was fed up. Hey, the team's 1-6. Who isn't? Today, the tuna insisted, though, he was not pointing fingers.
Look, I like this team. I don't have problems with these players. They work hard. They do what I ask them to do. You know, I said I'm fed up. What I'm fed up with is not being able to get them over the hump. And that's what I meant when I said I was fed up the other day, and just not being able to do enough to help them get over the hump.
Hey, I guarantee the Jets will not lose this game.
A family outing to New York City turned tragic today.
A woman was killed by a Long Island Railroad train while her loved ones watched in horror.
It happened in Bethpage, and that's where Jim Gately is live with that story for us tonight. Jim?
Ernie, it was a family trip to the city. Now, the family did not want to miss an early morning train, so they went around the gates and started across the tracks. One woman apparently did not see or hear the train. Even trains that stop at the Bethpage station cross nearby Stewart Avenue at a good rate of speed. The LIRR trains also sound whistles, and the gates are down. But this morning, Joan Catapano went around the lowered gates and was struck and killed by a New York-bound train. Family and friends can't believe it happened. Her longtime friend, Gladys Vasquez.
I'm in shock. You know, I can't believe it. No.
Police are investigating. What they do know is the 66-year-old woman was going to see the Rosie O'Donnell show in the city with several families. The victim was one of several people who crossed the tracks trying to catch an early morning New York-bound train. MTA Police Captain Andrew Cudieri.
And she was inside the track area and the gates were down.
Catapano ran several real estate offices. Shocked friends and clients came in when they heard the news.
And all I did is come here to say hello. And she's not here. Oh, boy.
At the busy Bethpage station, signs remind passengers of what not to do. Given the unlawful to pass sign and common sense, you might think it's quite unusual for people to go around the lowered gates, but we're told it happens quite often.
People trying to beat the train usually, that's all. Everyone's in a rush.
People told us sometimes the gates seem to come down when the trains are far away and you can make it across. It happens often, but one passenger who does that now says she won't do it anymore.
I used to go under the gate, but I don't know more.
Because of the accident?
Yes.
Now, this tragic situation brings to light a potentially very dangerous situation of people going around the gates. Now, folks here told us today that unless police are standing there to stop them, a lot of people will just walk right around. This is Jim Gately live in Bethpage. Back to you, Ernie.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Police have...
Long Island. A woman who was rushing to catch a train to Manhattan at the Bethpage station was accidentally struck and killed by another train. The victim was on her way to see the Rosie O'Donnell show in the city. As Long Island correspondent Frank Uciardo reports, the tragedy has left the community stunned. 66-year-old Joan Catapano and her sister went to the Bethpage Railroad Station this morning to catch a train into the city. The Catapano family says Joan had tickets to see the Rosie O'Donnell show, but around 7:15, Catapano was struck and killed by the 641 train out of Ronkonkoma that was being run along the eastbound tracks into Penn Station.
She was transversing from the south side to the north side. And she was inside the track area, and the gates were down.
During rush hour, at least 5 trains between 7 and 7:30 a.m. run into the city on the B platform side of the tracks, which is usually where the eastbound trains are running. For a person who doesn't normally take the train, this can be confusing.
Now look at the A platform. The A platform says to New York, and if you're not familiar with it, at the last second you'll see the trains on the other side, and then you have to run around the platform to get to your train.
The MTA confirms the train hit Catapano on the eastbound tracks as it headed towards Penn Station. Joan Catapano ran this Bethpage real estate agency with her daughters Tracy and Carol Ann. Her husband and his brothers have operated the Catapano Nursery for over 40 years, and Joan was active with the Chamber of Commerce.
I broke down and I started crying. I was that weak, and just a tremendous loss to our community. Tremendous loss.
Joan Catapano was known by nearly everyone in the Bethpage business community, where most people considered her a friend.
She was a sweetheart of a lady. I serviced her. They got their son's wedding party was all done here. I know the daughters very well. We've been neighbors for years.
The Catapano family had to suffer through another incident involving a Long Island Railroad train once before. Back in 1935, Joan Catapano's husband, Tommy, lost his 12-year-old brother when a Long Island Railroad train smacked into a truck he was riding in at a railroad crossing just like this one. Catapano's nephew told WB11 News the family was devastated and that her life was cut too short. She never got to retire. The Rosie O'Donnell show issued a statement saying they have no way of checking if Catapano was an audience member. In a tragic situation like this, their heartfelt condolences go out to the family. The MTA says it has issued dozens of tickets to people at the Bethpage train station who have walked around the gates while they were down. In Bethpage, Frank Uciardo for the WB11 News at 10.
2 members of the Long Island family this evening. A woman was hit and killed on the tracks of the Long Island Railroad trying to make her way into Manhattan. MTA officials say 66-year-old Joan Catapano was running to catch a train at the Bethpage station at 7:15 this morning.
She and family members were heading to Manhattan to catch the Rosie O'Donnell show. But when she found out she was standing on the wrong side of the tracks, she tried walking around the down gates. But she was hit by an oncoming westbound train.
Deliberations are up.
C7 Eyewitness News. Tim, tragedy in Long Island this morning. A woman who was excited to go to the Rosie O'Donnell show today was accidentally killed when she ran into the path of a train. Police say the woman was racing to catch a city-bound train at the Bethpage station. She stepped into the path of a train going the other direction and was killed. She's been identified as 66-year-old Joan Catatano of Bethpage. Police say she was with other family members when the accident happened. 3 high school students
We are investigating a death on the tracks. A woman was hit by a westbound LIRR train at the Stewart Avenue crossing in Bethpage. It happened a little after 7 o'clock this morning. Now, Chopper 5 was above the scene. The accident did cause some delays, and police still aren't sure if this was a suicide or just a horrible accident.
Supermarket officials have reached a tentative agreement with the deli and meat
Under Macon's Law. Tonight, Suffolk County investigators are trying to find the person who used a torch to break into some church donation boxes in Eastport. The boxes were located next to Our Lady of the Island Shrine. Detectives say thieves broke into 2 steel boxes sometime last night, causing $1,500 in damage to the boxes. Police say the shrine has been broken into before.
The lighting has changed. The security devices on the boxes have been changed, and they're more secure. But you can't make it Fort Knox. It's a religious facility, and it's open to the public.
Police say they're not sure how much money the thieves got away with.
President Clinton today.
For one woman, it was a piece of history that fell. Now we're going to tell you about lady in other news. Police are searching for whoever robbed a religious poor box. It happened in the Suffolk County town of Eastport. Police say someone stole about $3,000 from the donations boxes at the Shrine of Our Lady of the Island last night. Investigators say the shrine has been robbed in the past, and extra security measures have been added.
The lighting has changed. The security devices on the boxes have been changed, and they're more secure. But you can't make it Fort Knox. It's a religious facility, and it's open to the public.
Last year, one person was arrested for stealing money and a statue from the shrine.
For one woman, it was a piece of history. Report with more on the story for us. Jim?
Well, Brenda, this is not the first time it's happened here. Thieves really had to work hard to get at the money. Now, only about $500 was stolen, but it's really the principle of stealing from the church. Overnight, thieves hit 2 donation boxes at the Nativity and Resurrection scenes at Our Lady of the Island Shrine in Eastport.
They steal, first of all, it's from the church and Almighty God, and then I feel sorry for the poor people who put their donations in these boxes.
These are not your typical church donation boxes. The robbers hit 2 heavy metal canisters, one encased in 2 feet of cement.
The donation boxes, which are steel boxes, heavily armored steel boxes.
Police believe the thieves had to use a blowtorch to open one box. Stealing from the church was once thought to be off limits, but no longer. Nearby residents are not shocked by the robbery.
Lack of respect for all things, not just churches.
So it doesn't surprise you that something like that would happen?
No, sadly, no.
It doesn't surprise me nowadays. Unfortunately, things are changing. You know, it does, I'm surprised that actually happened here.
The shrine is open only during the day. The 70-acre tract contains several religious sites and draws hundreds to an open-air mass on Sundays. But here's the problem. It's desolate at night. It looks like driving through the woods. So why not just close off the property? Because it's a religious site and the faithful do show up at night.
It's a nice place where they can come and pray. But unfortunately, if you want to leave it open for the ordinary good person, you also leave it open for those who want to vandalize.
Now, each time a robbery has occurred, the donation boxes have been strengthened using heavier metal. And the thieves not only just take money, in the past they have taken several religious statues. Live from Eastport, Jim Gately, UPN 9 News.
Is equipped with a surveillance camera that cuts back and forth from what's happening inside to what's happening outside.
First, one man came and he asked for some change, and I gave him change.
Prakash says one of the 2 men asked for a change of a $5 bill. That's when the attempted robbery went down.
The other guy came in and he tried to attack me and get the money from me.
The gas station attendant wasn't about to hand any money over. He struggled with one of the men while the other tried to open up the cash register.
And then other guy trying to take some money from the register, but he don't know how to open the register, so he left that and he went.
Frustrated, the would-be robber who couldn't open the register gives up and walks out, only to find Prakash armed with the only weapon he could find, a mop.
I found the mop so that I tried to go offense them, but they ran away.
Now, police are still trying to capture these two robbers or would-be robbers. If you recognize them, contact the Suffolk County Police at 1-800-220-TIPS. That's 1-800-220-TIPS. We're live in Suffolk County. Logan Crawford, UPN 9 News.
It's 10 after the hour, time now for New York's most years.
An upset victory for Nassau County Democrats in election 1999. They won control of the county legislature, taking 10 of the 19 seats. The Democrats say that they are thrilled to receive such overwhelming support from an area of Long Island known for its devotion to the GOP.
For the first time in, I think, about 100 years, Nassau Democrats control the legislative branch of government in Nassau County. It's an incredible way to end the century and to start a new one.
Republicans have been criticized for the wealthy county's budget problems, including a $300 million deficit. Just last week, they voted to raise property taxes by about 9%.
Of an unthinkable crime, stabbing her 5-year-old daughter. Kathleen Trigg is live in Suffolk County with the latest for us. Kathleen?
Good evening, Brenda. The 5-year-old little girl is recovering here at Stony Brook University Hospital tonight. Police say she was stabbed at least 2 times by her mother, a 26-year-old woman who tonight is in police custody. Tonight, Suffolk County investigators spent hours collecting evidence and searching for clues at the Melville home where the unthinkable crime took place.
Around 4 o'clock, Sector Car received a call of a child that was stabbed by her mother.
Police say the stabbing happened inside this small house in the 2400 block of New York Avenue. When police arrived, the mother was apparently suffering from a rapid heart rate and had to be taken to the hospital herself. The little girl, suffering from multiple stab wounds, was medvaced to Stony Brook in stable condition.
It's hard to believe. Again, just to think that a parent could do that to a child is just mind-boggling.
This neighbor says the family was very quiet, stayed to themselves. The 26-year-old mother just recently moved back home with her parents after being away in California for college.
First time I ever saw the little baby was 6 months ago, when all of a sudden the mother came home and reappeared with the kid. It's tragic.
At the most recent check with the hospital, the little girl was listed in serious condition. Again, her 26-year-old mother is in police custody tonight. Police have not released her name, have released very few details about what may have led to the stabbing. We're live tonight in Long Island. Kathleen Trigg, UPN 9 News. Ernie, back to you.
On team. Officers arrested 57-year-old Ira Kamensky of Huntington Station last night. He's been charged with scheming to defraud. Just last month, police hauled in his teenage son, Stephen. Prosecutors say the coast of Nantucket, and the outpouring of emotion for the victims is still overwhelming. Another memorial service was held tonight at the Islamic Center in Westbury, Long Island. Hundreds of Muslims joined together in prayer for the 217 people who died in the crash. Well, those prayers also served as support for some of the victims.
Thank you, Sandra. A man on Long Island is under arrest, charged with drunk driving and child endangerment after being turned into police by his daughter. Suffolk County Police say a 911 call led them to William Devane's 12-year-old daughter. She was standing on a street in East Islip. The girl got out of her father's car at a stoplight and ran because he was allegedly driving drunk. She is now in the custody of her grandmother. Overseas job at North Shore University Hospital in Plainview. Their #1 complaint, they say they have just too many patients in their care. Long Island correspondent Lauren DeFranco is live at the hospital. Lauren.
Well, Raz, members of the New York State Nurses Association who have been out here since 7 o'clock this morning tell us they made the tough decision to strike for the safety of their patients. The RNs tell us when one nurse is responsible for 16 patients, hospital management is in effect putting the patients' lives in jeopardy and the nurses' jobs on the line.
Thank you. Give him my bag.
Give her that.
Okay. Love you.
Ginny Greco is one of the registered nurses Jean Trinchetta has grown to love and trust with her 17-year-old in intensive care. Today, Trinchetta was greeted by unfamiliar faces in ICU. That's because Greco is now walking the picket line.
I knew at 7:30 the shift was done, and then at 7:30 it was finished, and I don't know who was going to take care of her. But you know what? I have a lot of faith in God, and I know that she'll be fine.
It tears me apart. You know, it's taking a piece of my heart. I want to be in there.
400 registered nurses here at North Shore University Hospital at Plainview opted to strike this morning. The bottom line, they say, is not money, but safety. The nurses are frustrated with hospital management, which they say has failed to recognize severe understaffing as a problem.
Patients these days are much sicker than they were years ago. They need more care. We have to be able to do that.
But management insists the hospital is adequately staffed and say one nurse caring for a dozen people is hardly an everyday occurrence.
Maybe someone remembers a year ago that might have been the case on a rare instance. But let's look at what the norm is and what is really the case here in this hospital today.
North Shore administrators say the hospital is functioning normally with New York State licensed replacement workers.
The love is not there, and I need that because it's very hard to have a child not well, and I need that.
Hospital officials put these flyers out to patients and their family members saying the quality of care has not been compromised. Both sides will resume negotiations tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The nurses are hoping for a quick resolution before the holidays. Reporting live from Plainview, Long Island, Lauren DeFranco, ABC 7.
Zone. Hello. Thank you so much. Let's talk football now. And folks, Eric Green is out for the Jets. A knee problem with Eric Green. Surgery is being performed and he is done. So it's time to settle in. That 2020 hindsight zone, you know what I'm talking about. The armchair quarterback. Let's check in with the quarterback, toss things up, and see what sticks here.
Hey, just how excited can a coach get when he gets a win and ups his record to 2-6? It's not what a tuna would call a prize catch, but you'll take it for now.
Just to finally make a play to win the game, you know, is certainly helpful. So hopefully we can, you know, I don't know whether I use the word build on it, because hopefully we can just start playing a little bit better.
Curtis Martin ran a lot to get a little bit better, like 38 times for 131 yards. It's only 3.5 yards per carry, but the Jets needed a workhorse.
I took a lot of shots that I don't usually take this game, and some of them hurt. But, you know, I mean, you need that sometime. I mean, I enjoy games like that. I enjoy the dog fights.
Speaking of dogs, Rick Meyer did survive the fight by finally hooking up with Keyshawn Johnson on a zone beater that turned into a game winner.
Sometimes you punt and you stay alive and you get another chance. And eventually we got the chance, and when we really needed it, we made the play. And it's good for all our confidence.
The Jets' 12-7 victory over Arizona is hardly anything to get excited about. At 2-6, though, they'll take what they can get, and Bill Parcells knows it. Here's his take on the less than spectacular win yesterday.
Just so many close games. That was another close game. I imagine some others of them would be close too, and just to finally make a play to win the game, you know, is certainly helpful. So hopefully we can, you know, I don't know whether I use the word build on it, because hopefully we can just start playing a little bit better.
All right, boxing news.
Tonight, a daddy under arrest. His 12-year-old daughter jumps from his car. Now police reveal the reason why she was so afraid of her father. Good evening, everyone. Police say that he was drunk, but they also say that didn't stop him from getting behind the wheel with his child inside the car.
It happened on Long Island. A 12-year-old in a car with the man she should be able to trust most, her father. But police also say the little girl knew what condition her father was in. So the first chance she got, she ran. Now the father is under arrest. Dick Brennan is live in Bayshore, Long Island with details for us this evening. Dick?
Well, Brenda, how many kids would have had the sense, how many adults would have had the sense to do what this girl did? She was in a dangerous situation, a scary situation, and yet she acted, potentially saving her own life and the life of her father. Well, now her father is in jail, and meantime tonight, we spoke to the girl's uncle, who has mixed feelings about everything that happened.
In my eyes, I don't know, it would have been catch-22 with me. You know, if I was in that situation, I mean, yeah, I would have probably been like, you know, Dad, pull over, pull over, pull over, but I don't think I would have done what she did.
Tonight, William Devine is in custody because of what his 12-year-old daughter Kelly did. The pair were driving on Carlton Avenue in East Islip when Kelly apparently noticed he was drunk. She pretended to be sick, and her father pulled the car over. When he did, she ran from the car. A person who saw what happened called 911.
Do you think he might have been really visibly drunk that she would do that?
I don't really think he was. I mean, I know my cousin. He's not that stupid to risk his life and her life. I mean, yeah, granted, he probably did have a buzz going, but, you know, she probably just went a little bit overboard.
William Devine lives with his cousin and daughter in this Lake Ronkonkoma home. A neighbor was not shocked by the news of his arrest.
Because it looks like that there has been drinking and goings on over there, so I'm not really surprised that he was picked up for that.
According to his cousin, William Devine had a heart attack 2 months ago and had been out on disability leave from his job as a maintenance worker. But today, he says, the company fired him, and now the family is worried that they're going to have to sell this house. His cousin says Devine was fired because he was supposed to be at home recovering from his illness. Devine is split from his wife and has always had custody of Kelly.
She did do the right thing because she was fearing for her life. What I'm saying is, it's her father, and I'm just surprised that she had the guts to do it to her father.
Now, William Devine is being held on $15,000 bail because his family can't raise the money. Meantime, the girl is with her grandmother. Live in Long Island, Dick Brennan, UPN 9 News. Ernie, back to you.
Thank you, Dick. A man is
scoring, and they don't score a lot, but halfway through the season, the football Giants are tied for first place in the NFC East, moving into that tie with Washington during their bye-in yesterday. And at the Meadowlands yesterday, the Jets, well, they turned to the Giant-like performance. Dominating defense, just one offensive touchdown scored in their 12-7 win over Arizona. But forget those style. Coach Bill Parcells knows that his team simply did everything it took to win.
Our defense played better, again, much better. We created some pressure. Now, that wasn't the most high-powered offense that we've ever played against, but still in all, we did do a good job there. We had some pretty good runs in the game. We ran the ball pretty efficiently, and we made one big play that we had to make, and it happened to get us the win.
And as long as they win.
Carla. An extremely close call this morning for a man who survived an incredible chain of events in Nassau County. He was hit by a truck, then rescued by an ambulance, and then hit again. It all happened on Route 109 in Farmingdale, and that's where Art McFarland is standing by live with more on this story. Art?
Well, Nancy, this intersection here at West Street and Fulton in Farmingdale went a long way in developing a reputation as being dangerous and just plain bad luck as a result of what happened here this morning. One accident led to a second accident, and both were very dangerous, but apparently everyone involved will be able to tell the tale. This is what the Nassau County Police ambulance looked like before things got really complicated. It had just responded to a pedestrian accident.
A pedestrian was crossing Route 109 at the intersection from north to south in heavy traffic. He was struck by an auto and he received injuries.
And this is what the same ambulance looked like after being rear-ended by a truck and crashing into two other vehicles.
A truck struck the rear of the ambulance, driving it over the center median and into oncoming traffic, whereupon it was struck by two other trucks.
And quite fortunately, the victim, identified as Mario Castiglio, does not face serious life-threatening injuries after either accident, although the entire accident scene made for a very frightening sight.
It was pretty scary just to think that it might be like friends and family on the road, or when I was coming up the block, everything was all closed off and the ambulance was pretty smashed in.
I had asked the cop if there was a lot of damage. He said yes. I don't know if they took anyone to the hospital.
Well, the victim is in the hospital. He has a broken knee, is in stable condition. And to give you an idea how dangerous this was, the ambulance was knocked across that median here on Fulton Street, which is also 109. Fortunately, no serious injuries, but just bad enough for everyone to remember that this was one very bad day. And we're live in Farmingdale, Long Island. Art McFarland, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Art. Castiglia had a very unlucky day. He was hit by a car while trying to cross Route 109 in Farmingdale, Long Island. Then, while he was getting treated in the ambulance, it was hit by a truck. The ambulance was knocked into the opposite lane of traffic, where it was hit by two more trucks. Mr. Castiglia and one of the medical technicians went to the hospital. Fortunately, nothing life-threatening. A brush fire in
Trouble on Long Island. On the Long Island Expressway this morning, a multi-vehicle accident shut down all westbound lanes at Jericho Turnpike, causing quite a backup. The accident involved a truck carrying concrete that spilled all over the roadway. The LIE was reopened through the area about an hour ago. Fire officials on Long Island are investigating the cause of a fire that destroyed 4 shops in Lindenhurst last night. The flames broke out just before midnight at a strip mall on North Wellwood Avenue in Lindenhurst. It took firefighters 2.5 hours to bring the fire under control. No injuries were reported.
Some commuters on Long Island were stuck between a rock and a hard place this morning, almost literally. This was a scene on the Long Island Expressway at exit 40, that's in Jericho. A truck carrying concrete overturned, spilling 26,000 pounds of the stuff all over the road. 5 people were injured, but none are said to have any serious injuries. The road was closed for about an hour while the whole mess was cleaned up.
The Pokemon craze may be getting out of...
A blue van hit and killed a 68-year-old woman on Long Island today, but instead of stopping, the driver sped away. Now, police in Lake Ronkonkoma are on the hunt for the person behind the wheel. Lauren DeFranco is live with late details on the investigation. Lauren.
Well, Raz, we're told 68-year-old Kathleen Sears was a good Samaritan, someone committed to helping others, and she was often seen walking around the Lake Ronkonkoma area. Now investigators are trying to find the driver of a blue delivery truck who apparently ran her over and kept on going. Investigators call it a horrible accident. They believe 68-year-old Kathleen Sears died on impact. Police responded to the scene at 11 o'clock this morning. Investigators say the driver of a blue delivery truck was stopped on Avenue A, and Sears was crossing Portion Road in Lake Ronkonkoma when she was struck and killed.
It was a very bad accident. We don't know whether he knew he struck someone or not. A witness told us, though, that the vehicle continued northbound on Avenue A at a regular rate of speed. It didn't seem that the vehicle slowed down or sped up. He just casually drove away.
As friends and family arrive at Sears' home in Farmingville, neighbors remember a good Samaritan who was committed to helping others. We're told Sears did daily chores for another neighbor who was bound to a wheelchair.
This girl helped her out every day. She helps her out. It's a shame.
She helped Babette, or she did her laundry because Babette is in a wheelchair all the time. That's all you know, she was always there when you needed her. And she gave you 200%.
Some say the intersection of Portion Road and Avenue A is a danger to pedestrians and changes need to be made.
That intersection is a bad intersection, and it really could use a traffic light.
She's up in heaven. That's where she is right now. She's up there. She was great.
And tonight, police are looking for that blue delivery van with lettering on the side. At this point, they tell us they only have one witness. They're hoping others will come forward. Reporting live from the 6th Precinct in Coram, Lauren DeFranco, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Lauren. Driver of a deadly hit-and-run car on Long Island. Police say 68-year-old Kathleen Sears was crossing Portion Road at Avenue A in South Center Reach when she was hit by a truck. The force of the impact apparently knocked Sears right out of her shoes. Suffolk cops have very little to go on, except they say the truck was blue. They hope witnesses will call them with information about the driver.
Centennial, a colorful parade highlighted the county's past and its promising future. Nassau County brightest today to celebrate its 100th anniversary.
This parade is dedicated to our citizens, just as the entire centennial year is with all of our events, recognizing their contributions. And it's an opportunity for all of us to sit back and truly appreciate the quality of life that we enjoy in this county.
It was a celebration of diversity in the county's 100-year existence. More than 40 ethnic groups were represented by the marchers in the parade, and several law enforcement agencies marched proudly. Vietnam veterans were also on hand, along with history buffs dressed as Rough Riders. The Centennial Parade would not have been complete without a little history lesson. Antique cars and biplanes from the First World War were a link to the county's past. Young people also played an important role in today's parade. Members of the Uniondale High School band showcased their talents for the crowd. Well, we wish the people of Nassau County a happy birthday and another 100 years of fantastic good luck.
Yeah, good luck to them. And Otis joins us now. We're going to talk about the first-place Giants.
Long Island man is charged tonight with a brutal crime. Police say he kicked his wife to death during a domestic dispute. Kathleen Trigg is live now in North Lindenhurst with this story for us this evening. Kathleen?
Hi, Brenda. We are live at the 1st Precinct in Suffolk County, and a very disturbing story out of Long Island here tonight. This was a 40-year-old mother of 4, the oldest child 7, the youngest just 16 months, and all in the course of an argument with her husband, police say. This woman was slammed to the ground and kicked to death. 32-year-old Edward Deck was arraigned today in First District Court in Central Islip and formally charged with first-degree manslaughter for the brutal attack on his wife, Lisa. Police say the couple got into an argument Friday night at their home in Copaig. It's not known why they were arguing, but residents in the town say no argument should lead to this.
I think it's absolutely disgusting, and I'm appalled by it. It should never happen. Men beating women is disgusting.
Most of the couple's immediate neighbors were too disturbed to talk about what happened, but we were able to talk to a domestic violence sergeant here at the Suffolk County Police Department who said, as unfortunate as it is, this is a tragedy that happens all too often.
We handle probably about 100 calls per shift in each precinct.
Sergeant Linda Chicalese says they average about 32,000 domestic violence calls each year. This year in Suffolk County alone, 5 of the cases were fatal. And they want to get the word out that the tragedy that happened at this house doesn't have to happen to anyone else.
It's very disturbing. In our unit, we make an attempt to reach out to victims. We'll go to their homes. We'll meet them some other safe place. They can come into the unit to talk to us. We don't even have to know their names.
This case is still under investigation. There are a lot of unanswered questions tonight. It was determined that Lisa Deck did die of a ruptured spleen and several broken ribs as a result of her husband's attack. Again, this attack happened Friday night. It wasn't until Saturday morning that police found Lisa Deck dead in her bathroom. I should also mention that the children are being cared for by family tonight. We're live tonight in Suffolk County. Kathleen Trigg, UPN 9 News. Ernie, back to you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Having trouble hailing a
Long Island school that was forced to close because of a lead danger. Students returned to the Marion Street School in Lynbrook, many of them accompanied by parents. Workers have cleaned up the lead that came from a basement rifle range used by the high school rifle team. The State Education Department has recommended that all schools with shooting ranges test the lead levels.
Are you bothered by pigeons?
School closed last week because of a lead scare. The lead contamination came from a rifle range in the basement that had been used for decades by the high school rifle team. Officials say workers have removed the lead and the school is now safe except for one classroom directly across from the rifle range. After hearing about the problems, the State Education Department has asked other schools with shooting ranges to test for lead levels.
Elizabeth, New Jersey has been
School troubled by lead residue in the building reopened today. Students at the Marion Street School in Lynbrook had 3 days off while workers cleaned up lead from a high school rifle club range in the basement. The target shooting had caused high lead levels in the air. Lead can cause health problems, including a lower ability to learn, seizures, and even death. New York State is
football, where even Bill Parcells found it hard to hide the smile on his face after the Jets' 24-17 win over New England last night. Ray Lucas was impressive in his second career start at quarterback. The secret to his success may have been the presence of injured quarterback Vinny Testaverde.
You know, I never bring injured players to the game. My whole career, I've never brought them. Vinny was begging me to go, and I said, well, do you think you can help us win? I said, because I don't feel like taking anybody just wants to talk to Boomer Esiason in warm-ups. So he said that he thought he could help us, and I think he did help us because he was there for Ray.
He was there with me on the sidelines every play when I would come off, and we would talk about things, and you know, it was fantastic. And you know, the first person I see after the game's over, after I talked to the ABC people, is Vinny, and he's waiting down there in the end zone for me, man. I mean, it was just, you know, big hug the whole night. Just classic, man. The guy's a class act.
They may need 3 of Vinny's on Sunday because Buffalo comes to town.
At least they...
Police on Long Island are hoping you can help them find a brazen thief. He was caught on camera stealing donation jars, not once, but twice. The suspect is seen on this surveillance video 2 weeks ago, taking a jar of coins meant for Jerry's kids. It was stolen from a 7-Eleven in Smithtown. Police say he is the same man who was caught on tape last year stealing a Jerry's kids jar at a 7-Eleven in East Islip. The money is intended to help youngsters with muscular dystrophy.
Jones, Fox 5 News.
2 more schools have been closed for lead problems. The Ocean Avenue Elementary School in Northport and the East Northport Middle School. Officials in Suffolk County are now testing the lead levels in the air. Both schools have indoor rifle ranges. Just last week, the Marion Street Elementary School in Lynbrook was shut down because of lead in the air. That school reopened yesterday.
Well, federal officials are ball. Hooray for Ray. You gotta feel good about a story like Ray's. A player full of pep and purpose, but no pizzazz until last night when he guided the Jets to victory over the Pats.
I think a baby step for Ray. But it was a step, and it was a positive step. And I told him that. And, you know, he did enough to help his team win.
And there was much more. Curtis Martin recorded his 4th straight 100-yard game, but this time his average carry wasn't under 4 yards. It was near 5 per carry.
We're not in a situation where we can afford to have the luxury of saying, all right, we'll get it next week. Every week is crucial for us. Every week is meaningful.
Now don't get your playoff hopes up, Jets fans. Like Curtis said, just make a stand each and every week like the defense. Good things will come. The Jets D did bend, but then broke the Pats' backs, Jack. And Ray Lucas, who was sent packing by the Pats, Coach Pete Carroll, when he took over in '97, well, fact this, Pete.
I started here, I came back here, and I beat the guy who cut me, and now he could sleep on that for tonight.
Yeah, good for you.
Fox 5 News, back to you guys. Mike, thank you very much for the latest on that story. Well, an elderly man is dead after fire tore through his house in Hicksville, Long Island. Firefighters rushed to the scene late last night. They were able to pull 88-year-old Anthony Graziano out, but he later died from his injuries. 2 firefighters were also hurt and treated for burns and smoke inhalation. Investigators think the fire started in the living room. They don't think it was suspicious. And firefighters here in Manhattan were
down enthusiasm. Some folks are starting to compare this Jets team, which has won 3 straight, to get to 4-6. The Bill Parcells' Patriot team is second year in New England. They started 3-6, but won their last 7 and made the playoffs.
I wouldn't compare this to '94. Don't compare this to '94. I know, but I had my starting quarterback in the game. I didn't have anybody hurt. We just weren't very good to start the season. You know, we just weren't very good. And then we got better as we went.
And reminiscent of that Giants-Chargers.
Very much. On Long Island, 2 National Guardsmen are still in critical condition tonight following a deadly chopper crash at MacArthur Airport. 2 others were killed when the Army National Guard chopper went down last night during a training mission. Federal investigators are still trying to figure out what caused the crash, and it is still unclear if fog played a role. Republicans in the Nassau County...
Not anymore.
We believe, we believe what we can do. And we know we're going to have to take it one game at a time. We're going to have to stay focused on each game, that we can't look down the road. So I think that's something that, we're all thankful for, just to at least have a chance.
All right. Tennis, anyone? The ATP News.
Thank you, Sandra, very much. On Long Island today, a sad farewell to 2 National Guardsmen who were killed in a helicopter crash last week. A long line of guardsmen silently filed into the Phillips Neri Church for the funeral of Lieutenant Colonel William Zimmerman. The Vietnam veteran died when the chopper went down near MacArthur Airport last Tuesday. And the service for Staff Sergeant Edward Roberts, also killed in the crash, was held today in Mineola. There is a
Wayne Chrebet will be the first to tell you this one was there for the taking. To be where they were against the Colts in Indianapolis, to have the window of opportunity open, the Jets simply dropped the ball.
Anytime you can get your hands on a ball and you don't bring it in, it's definitely a drop. You set high standards for yourself, and like I said, you expect to make a play like that.
In defeat, kudos to the Jets' defense. Time and again, they thwarted the Colts' high-powered offense. This time, the Jets' defense deserved a better fate.
You got to look at that as a positive. If the defense can just keep playing well, then I think we're going to have a chance to do something.
But on this day, the Jets blew their best chances to go into the great wide open.
I don't know. This sucks. That's basically all I can say. It's horrible. It's worse than when I threw the interception down there. We gave this game away. It's ridiculous.
And so now, any Jets' long playoff shot
at Bernie's. At least Bernie had an excuse. The Jets had a chance, taking their game with the Colts down to the final offensive play for them, but Wayne Chrebet couldn't pull it in. And just like that, they lose 13-6 and fall to 4-7.
We're just not scoring enough points. It's as simple as that, fellas. We're just not scoring enough points to win consistently. So we've won a few games, not scoring too much. And certainly we're in position yesterday, had we scored just a little bit, to win that game. But we weren't able to do it.
Well, the Giants...
Today's Empty Bowl matches the Giants and Jets, two losing teams enduring very disappointing seasons. Here's the Jets' take.
It's always a rivalry, you know what I mean? It's like a backyard brawl, you know what I mean? It reminds me of some of the college rivalries that, you know, I experienced in college.
You know, it is the Giants, and, you know, I've never been one to other than like a UCLA, USC game, college rivalries, NFL rivalries just don't excite me as much.
The NFL is such a business nowadays, you know, but, you know, it's still good fun. We have fun on the field, and, you know, it's a little extra hype, but and the fans love it.
Governor George Pataki.
On Long Island, a 6-year-old murder mystery has now been solved. Police say Robert D'Andrea shot his friend Brian Levine back in 1993 when both of them were in their teens. Investigators say Levine was killed because he'd stolen videotapes and CDs from D'Andrea. Police say it took so long to solve the case because witnesses were reluctant to come forward, fearing reprisals. D'Andrea has been charged as a juvenile offender because he was 15 at the time of the murder, but because he's 21 now, he's going to be tried as an adult.
Now the Giants will be the home team for Sunday's game, so the Big Blue ticket holders get the dibs on the Ducats. But you can bet Fireman Ed and the crew will be there, so here we go. We hear from former Giant, now Jet, Jumbo Elliott.
But, you know, it's still good fun. We have fun on the field, and, you know, it's a little extra hyped, but, and the fans love it.
Meanwhile, it was anything.
The 17-year-old victim, Brian Levine, was shot to death on a baseball field in Abbey Lane Park. Levine and his killer reportedly quarreled over stolen property. Police have arrested Robert D'Andrea, now 21. They say witnesses were afraid to come forward.
In 1997, December, we obtained the first statement damaging against Robert D'Andrea. And from there, we continued our investigation, which culminated this week in a even more incriminating statement.
Police say it wasn't until this week that they got the key statement leading to the arrest.
And still that is.
But, you know, it's still good fun. We have fun on the field, and, you know, it's a little extra hyped, but, and the fans love it.
Meanwhile, it was
LaChan for the WB11 News at 10.
A radio contest winner really lucky tonight. Victor Navargic had 5 minutes to grab just as much money as he could from a bank vault on Long Island. But after grabbing just a few armfuls of cash, the contest winner fainted. As Frank Gucciardi reports now from our Long Island bureau, lucky for Victor, this story does have a happy ending.
4, 3, 2, 1. Victor Navargic had 5 minutes to grab as much money as he could from a Long Island bank vault as a reward for winning a WPLJ radio contest.
I think everyone was totally shocked. Victor was running back and forth and getting slower and slower.
But after about 4 minutes, Navargic started to look downright lethargic. For most people, the sight of a mound of $1 million could be quite an overwhelming experience, and that was apparently the case this morning for Victor Navargic with about 40 seconds to go.
And I got back up, and I went back in, and I passed out. And I heard all these people around me, and I couldn't answer them. I guess I was just really excited. I could not answer these people. Everything went black, and I didn't hear anything. That was it. That was it. It's like nobody was there. I woke up in the hospital.
Horrendous. No amount of money could compensate for the 10 years I lost.
Just watching him?
Just when he collapsed.
I just passed out.
Did they tell you why you passed out? What
Anxiety, and I lost, breathing. I couldn't breathe.
And since time was money for Navargic today, Victor was a bit down because he thought his fainting spell had cost him a few dollars he could have grabbed. But the radio contest people made up for the lost time.
What we're giving him is his average. WPLJ is kicking in another $20,000 because he was averaging $20,000 a minute. So Victor's total take right now is $100,000.
So he said if he won, he would put in the bathroom. It's a small bathroom, but I appreciate it.
I'm going to help my parents out a lot. And my brother, mail him some money. He's out in California.
As for Victor, he's not exactly sure what he's going to do with the rest of his money, but it couldn't have come at a better time.
In between jobs right now, so this money's going to come in handy.
And needless to say, he'll need a vault-like place to store it all. In Lynbrook, Frank Uciardo for the WB11 News at 10.
Chance to win $1 million and then passing out during the contest. Well, that's what happened to a New Jersey man. 1 minute he was grabbing cold, hard cash, and the next he was out cold. Joanne Pileggi has the story.
3, 2, 1! It was the chance of a lifetime, and this earnest 35-year-old New Jersey man was the lucky winner. A radio contest on Long Island offering 5 minutes access to a bank vault filled with cold, hard cash.
I just kept burning back and forth. I wasn't thinking about anything. Just pick up the money and go.
With a ruckus crowd watching and a live telecast on New York's WPLJ radio, Victor started strong. After all, the ones, fives, tens, 20s, and hundreds he grabbed and dumped in a basket were his to keep. Maybe it was a sign of things to come. With this live dream of dollars coming true, Victor was about to experience a nightmare. 4 minutes into his $1 million challenge, Victor collapsed.
Need somebody down. An ambulance.
As police and paramedics arrived, distressed DJs didn't know what to say. Wheeled out by medics, Victor was rushed to the hospital, checked out, and came back an hour later to collect his cash. Overwhelming is an understatement when one is faced with the prospect of grabbing as much cash as they can in a limited amount of time. It's no wonder Victor had an anxiety attack.
I couldn't breathe. I felt myself, I couldn't breathe, and then I woke up in the hospital.
Vic's mom says her son was simply nervous, hungry, and tired.
He didn't eat, he didn't sleep, and that's the result. He was up all night, didn't eat since yesterday.
But today, his money malady ended happily.
So Victor's total take right now is $100,000.
In Lynbrook, I'm Joanne Pileggi, UPN 9 News.
A surprise ending for a New Jersey. It seemed like the simplest payday you could ever ask for. $1 million just sitting there. All you had to do was grab it. But one man found out, no pain, no gain. The scene, Astoria Federal Savings, Lynbrook, Long Island. One man on a mission. Victor Navarjek from Clark, New Jersey. He was the winner in WPLJ's Secret Superstar contest. His reward, a vault full of cash, singles, tens, hundreds. He had 5 minutes to grab as much money as he could.
3, 2, 1!
Victor starts off strong, grabbing big piles of cash. Ooh, the first sign of trouble, but he was up again and grabbing. But after a while, he started slowing down. Soon, he was walking. Less than a minute to go. Uh-oh.
Need somebody down. An ambulance.
Victor's down, and he's not getting up. Soon the smiles are all gone, and in come the paramedics. Victor's headed to the hospital. The folks from the bank decided to finish things off for Victor, tossing more cash into the hopper.
Came in, did his 5-minute run here, and he got totally exhausted and passed out on top of the money. But we're glad to hear that Victor is doing well and hanging in there, and we look forward to him coming back after he's checked out and realize how much money he actually won.
Victor had grabbed $79,000 before he keeled over, but they decided, what the heck, let's make it an even $100 grand. And as we said, Victor's going to be okay. Wow. Scary.
Run for $1 million in $1 bills proved to be too much. Happened this morning in Lynbrook at the Astoria Federal Bank. The contest, sponsored by a local radio station, is called the $1 Million Bank Run. Theory is the contestant runs around grabbing as much cash as possible. For Victor Navarjek, it was looking good. He'd scooped up $79,000. Then he keeled over from exhaustion and had to be carried out to a local hospital. A radio spokesman says he is just fine at this hour, and the contest sponsors say that when Victor fully recovers, they're going to give him $100,000 for all of his efforts. So there.
He deserved that round of applause.
Right, thank you very much, Mike. Suffolk County Police arrested a father for the death of his own 7-month-old daughter. Edward Shiaz is accused of murdering his daughter, Felicity. Now, Shiaz and the baby's mother took the infant to North Shore Hospital back in October. It was 2 days later she died. Doctors told police the baby's injuries were suspicious. She was second-degree murder. Still developing.
Thank you.
I'll grab the cash contest proved to be too much for a New Jersey man this morning. Victor Navarchik of Clark had 5 minutes to scoop up as much as he could in $1 million bank run. With just seconds to go, he didn't need a bigger basket, he needed a stretcher. Victor collapsed while carrying all the cash. He was taken away by ambulance. Now, tonight, Navarchik's okay. His health is fine, maybe helped by the fact that he made $100,000 before he fell down.
Wow.
It's a hard way to earn money, I guess.
The telephones are out for parts of Suffolk County and Long Island, and tonight police say they were hacked with an axe, those telephone lines. Investigators say phone lines were cut in 6 locations in 3 towns, Lindenhurst, West Babylon, and North Babylon, at about 9 o'clock this morning. Bell Atlantic tells us more than 500 customers reported outages, but that the number is probably much higher since many were out for the day and may not have noticed. Service is expected to be restored later tonight. The investigation, of course, continues.
Here he was ashamed of the effort his team put out, but make no mistake, that wasn't just an indictment of his players.
Your team's a reflection of the coach, basically. And if, when a team doesn't give much effort, then you take it personal. And I do take it personal. So I always have.
Parcells didn't exactly succeed facing his former team yesterday. Tonight, the Rangers' Theo Fleury tried to better that.
Self-destruction like Bill Parcells has never experienced.
No matter how much you've won or how much success you've had, or whatever it is, when something like that happens, you just think you're terrible. You know, you just didn't think you did a terrible job. And I do think I did a bad job.
Gonna make the Jets' green eyes blue, as Fossil remains undefeated in December. The Bills and Rams.
A couple from Long Island is in the money. Michael and Lorraine Reuter. They won the $33 million lotto jackpot. Now, we're told they aren't planning any wild spending binges right now. They plan to give money to the parents, though. And they both plan to keep working. Lorraine's a waitress in a coffee shop. Michael owns his own business. He's a locksmith. And they've been married for 30 years. Come on, guys. Quit work. Take a second honeymoon. What the heck?
New York, Catherine Herridge, Fox News.
If you have an extra pair of shoes, there's a kid on Long Island who will take them off your hands, or feet as the case may be. He's Addison Amir. He's collected 1,200 pairs of shoes so far. He wants to collect 10,000 and then give them to the needy. He's being helped by the Nassau County Division of the New York State Podiatrists Association.
The jackpot was $33 million. Michael and Lorraine Reuter chose the lump sum option and were presented a check for more than $15 million. Married for 30 years, Michael is a locksmith, Lorraine, a coffee shop waitress.
We're going to see some money managers and decide what we want to do with it. But as far as short-term expenditures, we really have nothing in mind at the moment. Second honeymoon? We've been on a 30-year honeymoon.
Isn't that the nicest thing to say? Well, the couple has no children. They plan to share some of their money with other family members.
There are more.
They may be doing it without Brian Cox. The Jets' defensive leader has been suffering from an abdominal strain and will consult a specialist to determine if he needs season-ending surgery.
You know, but the pain has been there. I mean, and I haven't been able to practice the last couple of weeks. During the week, I just play on Sunday, you know, with the help of medication. So it's just, you know, what we decide, you know, together.
On the basketball
quarterback. Well, Merry Christmas, Jets fans.
Here's a kid that just started from nowhere. Nowhere. He was nowhere. And now he's on the verge of maybe getting a niche for himself.
Touchdowns. For my money, Keyshawn's one of the best in the game, but the coach says, hey, don't put him in the Hall of Fame just yet.
Keyshawn made some real good plays yesterday, and I think he you know, he's trying to do what he can do. And so I appreciate that. Yeah, I do. I think he's doing well, but Keyshawn has a wealth of things that he can improve on. You know, he still gets distracted a little bit. He's not as patient as he should be on things.
Keyshawn. Yep.
He's not as flexible on things. That, you know, there's a lot of areas that he can improve in. Now, to his credit, I think he knows that as well.
An awful lot of Deion Sanders in a tough Dallas defense.
They've showed that they can slow it, offense down and create some turnovers. And they got a number of interceptions. And you got to always, watch out for number 21.
So now,
Long Island Mall has shaken up shoppers. Investigators say a young man was stabbed and beaten inside the Roosevelt Field Mall last night while people were still doing their holiday shopping. As Frank Gucciardi reports now from our Long Island Bureau, this has left a lot of shoppers very concerned about the mall security.
Yesterday was one of the busiest shopping days at the Roosevelt Field Mall, but also one of the bloodiest as a young man was brutally stabbed and beaten inside the mall just after 9 p.m. last night.
I saw a bunch of kids just jumping up and down, screaming, calling 911. Just people all frantic, running around, screaming, help.
Saleswoman Jacqueline Wetzel saw the end of the violent incident.
I saw a young man covered in blood just lying there, curled up in a ball.
Police say a couple walking by the scene called 911 from their cell phone.
Yeah, there was blood all over the place. After he left, there was a pile of blood. His shirt was full of blood.
The incident began when several young men approached the victim, 19-year-old Tyrone Menendez, in front of the mall's Burger King. There, they challenged him to a fight. When one of the men produced a knife, Menendez tried to flee through the mall, but tripped and fell, and his attackers quickly caught up with him.
One individual grabbed him in a headlock, stabbed him approximately 4 times in the back of the neck. The second individual produced a bat that he had hidden up his sleeve and began to hit the victim about the legs, the back, and the shoulders.
Roosevelt Field officials claim this was an isolated event that did not reflect the overall safety of the mall. But police statistics reveal that there were 5 violent assaults at the mall last year and 11 robberies. News of last night's stabbing stunned some shoppers.
That's horrible. It's more security.
I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable is right.
Tyrone Menendez is in critical but stable condition at the Nassau County Medical Center. Police are looking for 3 to 4 suspects.
They're described as male blacks in their early 20s. We have various reports on dress. We are going on some indication that the victim and the assailants were known to each other.
Detectives say several of the witnesses to the attack also happened to be present at similar incidents that were gang-related, but cannot say if the victim or the suspects were part of any known gangs.
Tabloid editor is on the hot seat.
And coming up next, the government took her 2 boys away from her. It sparked a major court case, but now there is a major development. That's next on the Fox 5 10 o'clock news.
So sweet. Love makes me.
A Suffolk County woman lost her 2 children to foster care because the county says she refused to get a job or job training. But Andrea Day says that some people stepped in to get the family back together.
I'm always thinking about them. It's not a second that goes by that's been out of my mind.
For weeks, Eve Engesser has been without her 2 sons. 8-year-old Billy and 4-year-old Dylan were placed in foster care after she was barred from a Suffolk homeless shelter.
It's really hard. They've never been away from me. Ever. It's the first time.
It's also the first time a parent in the county has lost custody because of state regulations. Simply put, to stay in a shelter, you must meet job training and work requirements, rules the Department of Social Services says Engesser didn't follow.
Families always have the right to fair hearings and also conciliations. And I have to tell you, in this particular case, she did not.
Reading the figures.
Get a pencil ready because police on Long Island want you to help them find 3 men who stabbed a teenager at the Roosevelt Field Mall. The guy, who's 19 years old, was stabbed in the neck and hit with a bat by 3 men. It may have happened after an argument. The young man who was hurt is in critical but stable condition. Police want anyone with information to call their confidential hotline. The number is 1-800-244-TIPS.
Help.
Well, I think our team is back believing that they have a good, legitimate chance to compete now, and I think Ray has a lot to do with that because he's demonstrated, and now they're working with the receivers and our line protecting better. I mean, it's just the whole thing, and then our defense feeds a little bit off that. Now, defensively, we've had a lot of problems here physically, and with the guys we've been missing. So, but they're hanging in there.
They call it a brownout. A little warmer for the guys headed to Hawaii for the NFL Pro Bowl. Those players were announced today, and for the Jets, Keyshawn Johnson going for the 2nd straight year. The first time for center Kevin Mawai and punter Tom Tupa. Somewhat surprisingly, though, running back Curtis Martin didn't make the squad, even though he's second in the AFC in rushing. It's hard to argue with the three guys that are going, Edgerrin James, Eddie George, and Corey Dillon. And so, ever the gentleman, Martin understands.
I don't have no qualms about that. I'm not sore in losing, you know. It happens. You know, there's been times where I wasn't leading in yardage, and I went to the Pro Bowl when other people who were ahead of me didn't. And now that has turned around, and that's the situation that I'm in. So I have to appreciate that.
The Jets got in 3, the Giants 2, the same 2 that made it last year.
It's very, very dry across most of the area right now. Take a quick look at what happened out of the east end of Long Island, where they got anywhere from just a coating of snow to a little more than a coating of snow. As you went from even as close as Melville, where there was a trace reported on the ground, and then all the way out onto the east end where a little bit more fell. So nothing really to mar your plans, but maybe get you into the holiday spirit. Maybe another round of some flurries coming.
I so appreciate it.
As for the Jets, 2 reserves and a starter make the trip to Honolulu. Receiver Keyshawn Johnson and center Kevin Mawai will back up, while the starting spot for backing up offense is Jets punter Tom Tupa.
I'm just happy things worked out this year.
Who did you vote for, Tom?
What's that?
Who did you vote for?
Oh, I'd rather not say.
Kind of like a politician. Hey, if you're the best man, vote for yourself. Why not? Time
for Gang Green, but the Tuna is learning quite a bit about his troops in the second half of the season. In particular, Ray Lucas at the quarterback position. Lucas's 3 TD passes propelled the Jets over the Dolphins. Gang Green's 6th win in its last 8 games. Lucas is raising eyebrows around the league. He could be a legitimate starter, but Ray says he's comfortable in his role.
Based on what I saw from Vinny Testaverde last year, there's a vast difference between those 2 players right now. But I think Ray's improving a lot.
We're going to go to Super Bowl with Vinny, and that's the bottom line. I'm still young. I'm still not as experienced as everybody thinks. We're playing well right now. But, I mean, we're going to go the distance with Vinny, and that's fine with me.
How could you not like this kid? The truth of the matter is Lucas is a restricted free agent, so teams could bid on him for next year, but the Jets...
Another shocker tonight for Jets fans. Bill Belichick has quit just 1 day after becoming the team's new head coach. Sports Team 9's Russ Salzberg is here now with the stunning details for us. Russ.
Ernie, in all the years that I've covered sports, what I witnessed today was just about the wackiest thing that I've ever seen, and clearly the most unexpected.
Due to the various uncertainties surrounding my position as it relates to the team's new ownership, I've decided to resign as the head coach of the New York Jets.
So less than 24 hours after ascending to the head coaching throne relinquished by Bill Parcells, his trusted assistant Bill Belichick, in a shocking move, calls it quits. The question is, why?
As we look into the future of the New York Jets organization, there are a number of obvious uncertainties that would affect the head coach of the team. Obviously, ownership, Bill's future, and what his role would be, and so forth and so on.
Since beloved team owner Leon Hess passed away back on May 7th, the Jets have been up for sale and may in fact be sold by the end of this week.
I've been in a situation, and more importantly, my family has been in a situation where I was the head coach of a team in transition, of a team that went through a lot of changes, and frankly, it wasn't a real good experience for me.
Belichick had been head coach of the Cleveland Browns before the team moved to Baltimore. But Jets President Steve Gutman says that all of the uncertainties Belichick is concerned about are thoroughly covered in his contract with the Jets.
They cover the areas of ownership change, of Bill's responsibility when he became the head coach, and they cover the areas of the role that Bill Parcells will have under the present circumstances.
Just as Gutman was shocked by the news today, so were some of the fans.
Bill Belichick resigned. That's it, then the system is down. They would have still had a chance of maintaining a good management system with him, but they're down now. That's it. What are they going to get?
All of a sudden, the future of the Jets, which seemed so great and so secure, now all of a sudden seems to be completely up in the air.
As for who coaches the Jets now, it's too early to tell. The team needs time to regroup a bit from today's bizarre affair. But there is a whole lot more to this story than uncertainties as defined by Bill Belichick. Possibly a desire for a more lucrative contract from another team. We'll discuss that issue later in sports when I'm with Monica. In the meantime, back to you, Brenda.
Thanks. See you then, Russ. 2 teenagers wanted for a church burglary on Long Island have surrendered to police. Both are 16 and are from Holbrook in Suffolk County. Cops say they broke into the Church of the Good Shepherd on New Year's Eve, ransacked the church, and left behind some $10,000 worth of damage. Police say one of them cut himself on glass during the break-in and used a priest's vestment to stop the bleeding.
Well, music fans got a chance to...
Bishop of Rockville Center, Monsignor James McHugh, officially took over leadership of the diocese today. He succeeds Bishop John McGann, who showed a letter from the Pope accepting his resignation. Bishop McHugh has cancer, but says that will not affect his duties.
Like a lot of people in the United States, I have a health problem that I'll have to live with. But I fully intend to live with it and to live with the responsibilities that come to me as the third Bishop of Rockville Center.
Bishop McGann turned 75 last month. He steps down after nearly a quarter century as head of the diocese.
And I'm Mike Sheehan. Back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. The vandals suspected of wrecking a church in Holbrook, Long Island on New Year's Eve night have turned themselves in. 2 teenage boys are now charged with burglary and harassment. Police say they did about $10,000 worth of damage to the Church of the Good Shepherd. One of the teens cut himself during the break-in and used a priest's robe to stop the bleeding.
2 Long Island teenagers are under arrest, charged with vandalizing a church in Holbrook on New Year's Eve. Richard Bornshine Jr. and Jason Konchelik surrendered to police last night. They allegedly broke several windows of the Church of the Good Shepherd and then went on a rampage, causing an estimated $10,000 in damage. Police say Bornshine cut himself on broken glass and used a priest's robe to stop the bleeding.
Actress, singer Jennifer.
Thank you very much for that. Well, on Long Island, fire broke out at midnight at a home for mentally disabled adults. The home called Concern for Independent Living in Rocky Point. 9 of the residents and 1 of the aides were able to escape on their own. Firefighters had to rescue one man who was stuck on the 2nd floor. He was treated for smoke inhalation. Investigators are looking into what started the fire. The City Board of Ed.
Very much. In our area, Suffolk County detectives say they've put an end to a housing scam that raked in thousands of dollars. 41-year-old Thomas Salvati is under arrest. Police say he illegally moved into a house under foreclosure in Lindenhurst. He told neighbors he'd bought it and then began renting it to 6 families. Police say there may be other incidents and other victims of the same scheme. A warning.
The house he didn't own. Cops say Thomas Salvati rented the house to at least 6 families after he learned the house was unoccupied and in foreclosure. He advertised last September and allegedly took thousands of dollars from families who gave him the first month's rent in advance. Salvati is charged with fraud. Police believe there may be other victims who haven't come forward yet.
And tonight,
A fire out on Long Island has left some people homeless tonight. This Wyandanch boarding house went up in flames early this morning. At least 3 people were inside at the time. A neighbor is credited with saving the life of a woman on the 2nd floor. He pulled a ladder over to the window to get her out. The blaze is still under investigation.
Those double-decker tourist buses circling around the...
Police sure hit the jackpot when they pulled a man over. Paul Levy, he's from Coram, Long Island. They pulled him over for speeding on Sunrise Highway yesterday. When they checked his license, and you're not going to believe this, they found out it had been suspended 135 times.
The driver was not hurt, and police have not charged anyone in the case. On Long Island, 33-year-old Paul Levi is under arrest after police discovered his driver's license was suspended 135 times. Police say Levi was pulled over for speeding on Sunrise Highway yesterday. A routine computer check revealed all of the suspensions. He's now charged with unlicensed operation of a motor vehicle.
A botched robbery leaves a hunter.
Well, it looks like 2 Nassau County jail guards accused in the beating death of an inmate will plead guilty this afternoon. Prosecutors allege the men beat 38-year-old Thomas Pizzuto in his cell last January. Meanwhile, Nassau cops have arrested a Bethpage man. Officers say they discovered a mini weapons dump inside the home of Albert Santos. Among the weapons, police say they found 32 military assault rifles, 45 cases of ammunition, 2 grenade launchers.
Well, if you're pulled over by city police,
Well, the police in Nassau County and Bethpage discovered a small illegal arsenal in the home of a man named Albert Santos. Police tell us they found 32 assault rifles, 14 smoke grenades, 2 grenade launchers. They also found knives, swords, and brass knuckles. Mr. Santos has been charged with criminal possession of weapons. It's not the first time. He's a convicted felon, busted before for having the stuff that bombs are made of. County police say they scored in a big way when they busted a Bethpage man. In his house, he allegedly had lots of guns, ammunition, other weapons, and drugs. Long Island correspondent Lauren DeFranco standing by live in Mineola with the details. Lauren.
Well, David, detectives tell us they believe 38-year-old Albert Santos posed a real threat to the community. That's because he had enough guns and ammunition to make even seasoned police officers nervous about the damage that could have been done. Detectives say Albert Santos had enough guns and ammunition to supply a small army. Investigators arrested the 38-year-old yesterday after searching his home here on North 1st Street in Bethpage. Believe it or not, detectives say Santos tipped them off after having a run-in with a carpenter. He complained to police.
He had a contractor doing work at his home, and he wasn't satisfied with the work. He had called the contractor, and during that conversation, he felt threatened by the contractor.
Detectives say the carpenter told investigators about the weapons and ammunition. So police conducted a search of Santos's home and found dozens of assault rifles and cases of ammunition. He told investigators he was a collector.
An average collector would collect his weapons, but he wouldn't have ammunition with them. When he was arrested, on the side of his bed was an AK-47 with 3 loaded magazines. And when I asked him, he said he felt threatened by the contractor. That's why he kept it by his side.
Police charged Santos for criminal possession because of a prior felony conviction for a homemade bomb. And police also charged Santos with possession of a controlled substance, cocaine. He's being held on a $500,000 cash bail. Police tell us Santos also exposed his 11-month-old son to all of the ammunition and guns. Not surprisingly, he's also being charged with endangering the welfare of a child. Reporting live from Mineola, Long Island, Lauren DeFranco, ABC.
Residents will have to foot the bill for a settlement between the Long Island Power Authority and the county. The agreement is on the tax assessment for the Shoreham nuclear power plant, which never went online. LIPA will get a $625 million tax refund from the county, and residents will pay for it in the form of a one-time $20 surcharge on electric bills.
It puts us in a strong position in terms of our credit ratings, and I think it finally, hopefully, ends the battle between LIPA and the Suffolk County Legislature.
The deal also allows LIPA to keep its 20% rate reduction for at least another 3.5 years.
Police officers in Nassau County today went to court to save their jobs. 3 unions joined forces to stop.
Dean Staley, ABC News.
Long Island now. 2 men are charged with running a marijuana factory. Police say the men used 1,000-watt bulbs to grow $250,000 worth of marijuana. It happened in Holbrook. And police say they stole the electricity to light those bulbs. Investigators say Francisco D'Andrea of Centerport and Frank Salinas of Dix Hills tapped into a LIPA underground main line to bypass their electric meter. They're charged with grand larceny and criminal possession of marijuana.
Well, Rob, there is
It's very slow right now. We usually do good business, but it's very slow at the moment because of the cold weather.
Meantime, commuters on the Long Island Railroad hope they don't see a repeat tomorrow of what happened today. Frozen switches caused delays during the morning rush. LIRR workers say they'll closely monitor conditions throughout the night.
Back at Public School 44 in the Bronx, the students and the staff
stationed in Lodi, as well as Paramus, Toms River, Randolph, and Ridgewood. And while everything seems frozen, it just wasn't quite cold enough on the south shore of Long Island, here in Massapequa, to keep this dog from falling through the ice.
I thought she was going to drown. And I was hoping she'd be able to come out on her own, but she couldn't get a hold of it and couldn't get a grip, so.
While Holly feared it was goodbye Ruby Tuesday, that's the dog's name, Ruby Tuesday, firefighters responded and plucked the pooch from the icy waters.
The cold was definitely affecting her mental state. She was a little out of it, but I mean, for the most part, she knew why we were there, and she understood that I was there to help her. She didn't put up any of a fight, and she was real cooperative. She wanted out of the water as much as we did.
Now everyone's saying that the luck of the Irish was with this setter.
When you reunited dog with owner, how did that go?
That always goes well. That's the fun part of the job.
All right, reason to
About to see in a surveillance video.
Detectives want to know if you know this man. He was caught on surveillance tape attacking an ATM machine. Security cameras at this Fleet Bank in Hauppauge captured the crime.
He leaned out of his vehicle, which was a large white sedan, with some sort of an instrument, probably a tire iron, and reached over to the machine and damaged the fascia of the machine.
Police don't know what the man's motive was when he committed this crime. They don't know if he got away with any money either, but they do say he caused close to $3,000 worth of damage to this machine.
In New York State, we classify this as a criminal mischief. It's a type of vandalism, and it's a felony.
No one apparently witnessed the attack that occurred on September 2nd.
I'm actually surprised that someone's able to do it here, being in the industrial park and all. It's somewhat, I would think, busy.
Last April in Patchogue, another ATM rage incident. This time, cops say a man who lost his bank card hit, kicked, and used tools that caused $3,500 worth of damage to this cash machine outside the Chase Manhattan Bank. Calls to Crime Stoppers helped put this man behind bars. Tonight, police hope someone can do the same for this attack.
If they happen to know who this individual is through the video or the pictures, we ask them to call us.
And if you recognize the man we just showed you, police are asking.
So that's why I have to have these on.
In Northport, it wasn't a snow day, just this very cold day that closed the high school. A broken boiler meant no heat, so no school, and a bunch of students who were not broken-hearted. In New Jersey, the cold closed inspection.
A warehouse in Holbrook. Francisco D'Andrea and Frank Salinas. This was a hydroponic farm, very sophisticated, the plants growing in water. They're also accused of stealing the electricity to do it. We're told they tapped directly into a Long Island Power Authority underground main. That meant no meter. They stole up to $50,000 worth of power. Queens DA says the police used a special helicopter with infrared radar to find the farm.
They were able to tire iron to take out his anger on an ATM machine. He caused about $3,000 worth of damage. The attack happened last September at a Fleet Bank in Hauppauge. The suspect is described as a balding white man driving a big white car. If you know who did it, call the police on Long Island at 1-800-220-TIPS.
Today, Fox 5 News.
Well, the cold weather took its toll on a Long Island landmark, the American Air Power Museum. It's at Republic Airport in Farmingdale. Some frozen pipes burst early this morning, dumping 1,000 gallons of water all over the place, ruining old photos, prints, and journals. One volunteer at the museum says many of the items are irreplaceable.
The American Air Power Museum is fortunate in that it is housed in a historic building. However, with that, we also have old historic piping.
The museum is asking anyone on Long Island who worked in the aviation field to donate memorabilia to help rebuild their collection.
All right, coming up, late news.
And a mysterious death on Long Island. Suffolk County Police tell News 2 a woman's body was found tied up inside the trunk of a car this morning in Deer Park. Investigators are still at the scene in the affluent neighborhood on Grand Boulevard. No word yet on how she died. Sources tell News 2 she may be from mastic. We will bring you more information as we get it, and we'll have a complete report tonight on News 2 at 5.
Police in Queens are investigating
out the details of two fatal shootings allegedly carried out by who then tried to kill himself. Police say the suspect shot his wife to death, then drove to work and fatally shot his boss before shooting and injuring himself. Vanessa Tyler is live in Douglaston, Queens now with the latest. Vanessa.
Well, Mary, it's a double murder-suicide that's with twists, turns, and a lot of tragedy. What started out on Long Island ended here in Queens. A supervisor here at the Beach Hills apartment was murdered, and now police say a worker who first killed his own wife then did in his boss. In that car, the first body in the beginning of a bloody, murderous day. Inside, 42-year-old Elisa Marie Rolone, mother of two, and police say it was her husband, 40-year-old Juan Rolone, who did her in.
About 8 o'clock this morning, sometime thereafter, the assailant's car was discovered, and within that car was the body of a female believed to be his wife.
The car was found in Deer Park, Long Island, about 20 minutes from where the couple lived with their daughters in Mastic, Long Island. Here, the house peaceful and calm, giving no clues to what caused this morning to be Mrs. Rolone's last. Neighbors are saying the typical, who knew?
Seemed like a nice guy. Always said hello. He's quiet, though, kept to himself.
This morning started the same. Juan and his wife left for work together. He was to drop her off in Deer Park, then head to work in Queens, where he worked at Beach Hills Apartments. But it was no typical day at the office because here, more shots were fired. Police say he first locked one worker, an ex-cop, in a garage and went gunning for his boss. He found him, 62-year-old Victor Sanchez was found dead in the office.
Following the shooting in the city, the suspect shot himself and is currently in critical condition in a New York hospital.
Again, at this scene, people say they would have never suspected. This man knows both the suspect and the victim, Victor Sanchez. He says the two had no problems. Then he rethinks and says there was a little friction some years ago.
Nothing discussed about the boss. You know, everything is cool. Yeah, but he had problems, but this is a long time ago.
How long ago?
Oh, that's about 10 years ago.
So, what set off this day, leaving a blood trail from Long Island to here? The suspect ended the morning by shooting himself in the head. He is hanging on in critical but stable condition. In fact, he had surgery this evening to remove the bullet from his head. Of course, if he survives, maybe he'll be able to tell everyone why. We're live in Queens. Vanessa Tyler, WB11 News at 10. Mary, back to you.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Tonight, it starts with the murder of a woman on Long Island, but the trail of blood leads to Queens, where the killer apparently struck again. Long Island Bureau Chief Jennifer McLogan has the story.
The answer to this mystery may have died along with a 42-year-old woman whose lifeless body lies inside this teal-colored Ford Mustang. Police say it appears 42-year-old Elsa Marie Roland was murdered by her own husband while on the way to work this morning and left here off Grand Boulevard in Deer Park.
The routine typically is that the husband and wife leave their family home in Mastic, travel to Deer Park, where he and a nephew continue on into the city, where they're both employed at the same location. This morning when he arrived, he was alone and on foot.
It was then the tragedy took a stranger turn. Police say the husband, 49-year-old Juan Roland, drove with a nephew into a Queens condominium office to work. Juan, apparently armed with a gun, then locked the condo groundskeeper, who was a retired cop, in a garage. The retired cop was soon able to escape and called 911. When police arrived, they found that Ron Roland's boss, 62-year-old Victor Sanchez, had been shot to death. What's more, Roland had apparently put the gun to his own head. They rushed the suspect to North Shore Hospital in critical condition. Police will not reveal a motive. They say the couple lived here in Mastic and raised two daughters, ages 14 and 20.
Nice guy. Always said hello.
Given that the assailant attempted suicide immediately following that shooting, it may be that he was dealing with two different matters as a matter of his last acts.
Grieving family members came by car to the scene of Elsa Marie's murder. So overcome with sadness, they said they were unable to speak. Reporting from Deer Park, Jennifer McLogan, News 2.
Police say there were no reports of any marital troubles in the family, so at this time they haven't ruled out a lover's triangle or perhaps a work-related problem.
People are dead after a man from Long Island is accused of going on a shooting rampage. Detectives say he killed his wife, his boss, then tried to kill himself. Andrea Day has the story. She's at North Shore University Hospital right now with the late details. Andrea.
Well, Rosanna, it looks like this guy had a couple of scores to settle. But now his wife is dead, his boss is dead, but he's still here holding on. The killing spree began in Mastic early this morning. Juan Roland and his wife Elsa Marie left for his sister's home in Deer Park. But somewhere between, detectives say he murdered the 42-year-old and left her dead in the car.
She was in the passenger compartment, and when searching uniformed police discovered the car has tinted windows. You cannot readily look into it, and they broke into the car and discovered her.
Then he met up with his nephew and left for Douglaston, Queens, where he works at a condo. It was there where he settled grudge number 2. Investigators say Roland took a .38 caliber from a retired city cop who now works as a groundskeeper. Then he locked him in a garage and then went and shot and killed his boss, 62-year-old Victor Sanchez. Then he put the gun to his own head and pulled the trigger. When relatives heard what had happened in Queens, they got suspicious, especially since they hadn't seen Elsa Marie that morning.
The routine typically is that the husband and wife leave their family home in Mastic, travel to Deer Park, where he and a nephew continue on into the city, where they're both employed at the same location. This morning when he arrived, he was alone and on foot.
Suffolk cops say the marriage may have been on the rocks, but neighbors didn't see it coming.
They had no friction that I see. I didn't notice anything.
He's a quiet guy, just said hello. Quiet guy.
And as for why the 49-year-old would kill his boss, so far investigators have no motive.
They give him an attempted suicide immediately following the shooting. It may be that he was dealing with two different matters as a matter of his last acts.
Now, the couple does have two daughters, one 14 and one 20. They're both okay, but Juan is here in critical but stable condition, and so far, no charges have been filed. We're live in Manhasset, Long Island. I'm Andrew.
Detectives on Long Island tell us that some new DNA evidence is helping them close the book on a mysterious crime. Last year, a pregnant woman's body was found in a barrel underneath a house in Jericho. It'd been there for 30 years. Her name is Reina Marroquin. She was originally from El Salvador. Now, the police interviewed a man who owned the house back then. His name was Howard Elkins. Right after they talked to him, he killed himself. Well, now DNA tests show that he was the father of that murdered woman's unborn baby.
You have a body in a drum under a house that he owned. The girl in that drum has his phone number with her in the drum. When you take the whole totality together, we think that we've got our case solved.
And detectives tell us the fact that the barrel was sealed helped them a lot. It preserved the woman's body and a lot of other clues.
Tell you about tonight. It stretches from Queens to Suffolk County. 2 people are dead. The suspect tried to kill himself, and police are now trying to piece together exactly what happened. Celeste Ford is live in Hop Hog with the details on this case for us tonight. Celeste?
Rob, Suffolk County Police held a news conference here late this afternoon to answer some of the many questions surrounding this double homicide. The suspect is accused of killing his wife, then his boss in Queens, before turning the gun on himself in a failed suicide attempt. Police say marital problems were part of the motive. The suspect, 49-year-old Juan Roland, is a maintenance worker at the Beach Hills condo complex in Douglaston. Shortly before 8 this morning, police say he put a gun to the head of a co-worker, a retired cop, took his gun and locked the man in a garage. Then at the maintenance office, Roland allegedly shot and killed his boss, 62-year-old Victor Sanchez, before shooting himself in the head.
Could you tell us about Victor?
Yes, Victor had worked his way up as a maintenance man. It was way back when we first were here, and he was very liked, very easygoing, and didn't seem like he would have any problems.
Police soon learned they were dealing with a murder investigation that stretched from Roland's home in Mastic to his sister's home in Deer Park to his work in Queens.
The daily routine is that in the morning hours, he and his wife arrive from their Mastic home to his sister's home in Deer Park, where he and a nephew who resides at the Deer Park address continue on into the city to go to work.
This morning, police say the couple left their house in Mastic around 5:30. But when Roland showed up at his sister's home, he was alone and on foot, saying his car broke down. Later, the nephew called his family about the Queens shooting, and they realized Roland's wife was missing.
A search was conducted in the vicinity of the relative's home where he was last seen, and as a result of that search, the family car was discovered some blocks away.
Police say the body of 42-year-old Elsa Roland, a mother of 2, was in the passenger area. In Mastic, neighbors describe a quiet man. In Queens, residents are stunned.
It's quite unbelievable, you know. Yet to read about it every day somewhere else, you don't think it'll happen here.
The medical examiner is now looking at the wife's body to determine the exact cause of death. Investigators say that while marital problems contributed to the wife's murder, it's not clear what caused Roland to turn on his boss. The suspect is now hospitalized in critical condition. We're live in Hop Hog. Celeste Ford, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Island man suspected of killing 2 people is in critical condition tonight after an apparent suicide attempt.
Police say the man shot his wife and his boss, and then he turned the gun on himself. Judy Chavez is live tonight in Douglaston, Queens with that story. Judy.
That's right, Ernie. Police believe the man first killed his wife in Long Island, then came here to kill his boss, and tonight police are trying to find the motive behind this killing spree.
I met several of the co-workers, and they were pretty shaken up. And I have to say that, I mean, to watch your boss get shot in the head right in front of you is a little scary.
Residents at the Beach Hills Co-op complex were shocked to learn that an employee came to work with a deadly mission. Police say just after 7 this morning, 49-year-old Juan Roland shot his boss, 62-year-old Victor Sanchez, in the head before pulling the trigger on himself. Sanchez died on the scene here in the management office. Roland was taken to North Shore. Police say when Roland arrived here, he approached a co-worker, a groundskeeper, who's a retired New York Transit cop. He placed a gun to his head, demanded his .38 caliber revolver, and then locked him down below in the garage.
I heard banging, and then I saw this guy coming out. As I looked out the kitchen window, I saw this guy walking out and walking next door.
The retired officer broke the window and escaped from the garage and then called 911. That's when Suffolk County police were led to another crime scene. Officers arrived at West 2nd Street and Grand Boulevard to find Roland's car.
The car has tinted windows. You cannot readily look into it. And they broke into the car and discovered her dead within the vehicle.
Inside, police found 42-year-old Elsa Marie Roland dead of an apparent gunshot wound. Roland remains in critical but stable condition. He underwent brain surgery earlier this afternoon. The couple have 2 daughters, a 14-year-old and a 20-year-old, and police say neither was harmed. Live in Douglaston, Queens, I'm Judy Chavez, UPN 9 News. Ernie, back to you.
Thank you, Judy.
Other news now, the aftermath of the storm, the winter storm that grounded planes, shut down schools, and created a traffic mess for all of us, has in fact claimed lives on Long Island. First, police say a man was killed when his car slid into a tree. The victim leaves behind 4 children and a pregnant wife. Rosemary Gomez spoke with the family.
And that was his little angel right there. He went out for him.
Irene Monsegur says she begged her husband Philip not to go out in yesterday's snow, but the Long Island father of 4 always put his children first. The 32-year-old Holbrook man was on his way to a nearby store to get milk for his 1-year-old son Ryan when his Dodge Viper spun out of control, hitting this tree and killing him instantly.
He was a great husband and the best father, and he loved all the kids very much.
The accident happened just after midnight as Monsegur was heading north on Smith Street to a nearby 7-Eleven, accompanied by his 22-year-old brother Brian. Police say the car had just stopped at a stop sign and was accelerating when it fishtailed. The brother was strapped into the passenger seat and was not injured, but not wearing a seatbelt was pronounced dead at the scene.
I was scared if he was going to get into an accident, and he did.
Monsegur's 8-year-old son Anthony echoed his mom's fears. The 28-year-old Long Island woman is expecting the couple's 5th child in April. Their oldest son, Philip Jr., says he sat on the couch all morning waiting for his father, until a priest told him his dad wouldn't be returning home.
Told my dad went to heaven, and he's going to be in a better place.
The father of 4 died in his younger brother's arms. Relatives say the surviving brother feels guilty he was the one wearing the seatbelt and says he wishes it could have been him.
He was just a big, gentle giant. He was one of a kind.
Relatives say Monsegur's children meant the world to him, but his second loves were raising homing pigeons and collecting cars.
He bought a Viper because I wanted it.
The father of 4 worked as a carpenter, but relatives say he recently suffered an injury and was on disability. They say he had just paid 1 year of the mortgage on his home and only had a small life insurance policy.
That he always did everything for me.
Tonight, his pregnant widow is worried she and her children are going to lose everything, and friends are counting on the kindness of strangers to help. In Holbrook, Long Island, I'm Rosemary Gomez, the WB11 News.
Tonight on Long Island, a deadly fire is under investigation. Fire officials say this house in Mastic caught fire as 3 children were being watched by a babysitter. The 3 kids got out okay, but the babysitter is unaccounted for. A body was found in the home, but there is no official identification. 1 firefighter suffered minor injuries.
Jury selections.
Coming all the way down to George Washington Bridge.
The cold weather is also to blame for a broken rail line on the LIRR earlier today, creating chaos for commuters on the Ronkonkoma line, who had to be bused to another station. Crews worked all day to make repairs.
It's really ridiculous, and it's awful cold out here. You know, we're trying to make it home.
Well, aside from problems on the Long Island Railroad, commuters leaving Penn Station face some delays on the way home. Tonight, a down wire caused a power outage, which created delays for New Jersey Transit commuters and for Amtrak riders. Now, the question now, is there any relief in sight? Storm, of course, will tell us all about that in his forecast. And, of course, spring is 52 days away. We're live tonight in Midtown. I'm Joanne Pileggi, UPN 9 News. Back to you.
It's kind of fun. Yes, weather related, but I mean, they knew it was cold, and they're supposed to take precautions. It get cold every winter. It's not something new.
The 90-minute delay left commuters waiting for an update, but the news wasn't good.
The train is
still delayed in Sunnyside Yard.
For most, the board said it all.
Not good. It's going to be a long night.
After about 90 minutes, the trains did get up and running around 6:15, and when they did, it sparked a rush towards the narrow stairs leading to the tracks. Some Long Island Railroad commuters didn't fare any better tonight. We found repair crews bracing the chill to fix rails near the Ronkonkoma station. A train there hit a third rail, causing delays east of Farmingdale. The scene was similar this morning, the cold literally cracking the tracks near Wyandanch. With repairs underway, freezing passengers were loaded onto shuttle buses that would take them to other LIRR stations. It made for a long, cold morning rush hour.
I can't feel my feet yet. So it's been a very, very rough morning.
Mother Nature also showing the signs of this cold snap. The effects perhaps most visible along the Hudson, where chunks of ice fill the waterway, a sight not seen around here for years. Tonight, with temperatures in the single digits and the wind chill well below zero, New Yorkers trying to take it in stride.
We got away scot-free with a lot of mild winters, so it's about time we got hit with one. So this is it.
And more cold and snow expected this weekend. Of course, Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Vanessa. In Mastic, Long Island, police are investigating a tragic house fire that killed a woman last night. Tafala Jernigan made the ultimate sacrifice when she gave her own life while helping other tenants get out of the house. Several children were in the home when the fire broke out. As Long Island correspondent Frank Uciardo reports, thanks to her, everyone else got out alive. A fast-moving fire at this house in Mastic last night claimed the life of a 31-year-old Suffolk County woman who became trapped inside after telling several people to get out.
Fully involved house fire. The two tenants and their children were in the house.
I seen the kids running out at that point, and they just were screaming. And then they stood right over here screaming, and I looked up, and the whole flame shot through the living room window.
The woman who died in the fire, Tafala Jernigan, lived on the first floor of the house. Police say that she apparently ran upstairs trying to help to put the fire out. She tried to put it out with water and was unsuccessful. At that point, the heat and smoke was so intense, she told everyone else to get out of the house. They all did get out, except for Jernigan, who was overcome by smoke and flames.
The whole upstairs was engulfed in flames. We used approximately 75 firefighters from Mastic Fire Department, Brookhaven Fire Department, and Mastic Beach Fire Department for extinguishment.
Police say it was 7-year-old Anthony Dull, the second boy from the right in this picture, who discovered the fire behind the couch on the second floor and alerted his 12-year-old sister Amanda. The two of them, along with their 10-year-old brother Jeffrey and 19-year-old Sharon Brower, all escaped.
I was very upset, and I was really worried about the children because they were standing out there by themselves, the little girl, and they were just screaming and crying.
The children's mother, Victoria Knox, was working here at this Mastic business when the fire broke out around 6:40 p.m. Knox and her fiancé, who had rented the house from her employer, are now looking for a place to live. The Suffolk County Homicide Squad is investigating the cause of the blaze. In Mastic, Frank Uciardo for the WB11 News at 10.
Latest development.
All right, thanks, Mike. LIRR had some other troubles. It was a 1-2 punch for commuters on the Ronkonkoma line. Earlier tonight, a car hit the third rail at the Pinelawn station. That knocked out service for a couple of hours. This morning's service was down too. A steel rail cracked in Wyandanch. Blame that on the freezing cold. Workers, though, got things up and running by about 8 this morning.
Some really scary moments for people on board a Continental.
And you certainly tells the story. The weather also tripping up the morning commute on the LIRR. The Ronkonkoma line was knocked out by a broken rail caused by the frigid temperatures, and it forced riders to squeeze into the trains on the other lines. Long Island correspondent Lauren DeFranco is live in Wyandanch with details on this. Lauren.
Well, David, we'll start with the good news first. Trains on the Ronkonkoma line are running on or close to schedule after a rail crack just east of the Wyandanch station here. Workers fixed the problem at around 8 o'clock this morning, but it was already too late for thousands of commuters who are sick and tired of waiting for trains in the bitter cold. A bitter undertaking for LIRR crews who set out to restore and replace a rail that cracked in the extreme cold this morning just east of the Wyandanch station. Serious delays and waiting in the biting cold angered thousands of commuters who were not only inconvenienced but uncomfortable.
There was no heating, and we were just packed like sardines in there.
Tell us how crowded it was. What was it like on that train?
Well, had a pregnant woman who was literally sitting on the floor. There were so many people, so it was really bad.
It was very frustrating because I didn't know where I was going.
LIRR officials say the freezing cold temperatures caused the rail to contract. and break at around 4:30 this morning. The fracture disrupted service for riders at 8 stations along the Ronkonkoma line from Ronkonkoma to Bethpage. The LIRR provided limited bus service because railroad officials simply couldn't accommodate the thousands of riders heading to work.
The real frustrating thing is when you ask why they didn't bus us, oh, there's too many people. Well, they don't think there's too many people when they take our $200 every month. Okay, they don't say there's too many people then. So I really think that they should have made some sort of accommodations.
There's thousands of people stranded, and all I have to say is one thing to the LIRR. You better get your act together.
Aaron Day says while today's problem was unusual, delays have been the norm over the last week.
You see right now how cold it is outside. Don't make no sense. Everybody be sitting around waiting for the train. They don't even come on time.
Now, the railroad does admit there have been repeated delays all week, not terribly consoling for riders. Many of them have been late to work all week. Reporting live from Wyandanch, Long Island, Lauren DeFranco, ABC 7.
We have a tragic story tonight from Suffolk County. A family friend sacrificed her life to save children from a house on fire in Mastic. She braved smoke and flames to get 3 young children and a teenager to safety. Long Island Bureau Chief Jennifer McLogan shows us her heroic decision cost her life.
Friends and neighbors stopping by to comfort the now homeless family discovered the scene today reduced to rubble. Amid it all, a bicycle, some smashed toys, a bed spring and cartoon pillowcase, notebooks and photos of happy scenes at amusement parks posing on the front steps of their Mastic home. A home which exploded in flames yesterday evening in a fire that started so small but spread so quickly. 10-year-old Jeffrey